All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm Gus Cruzalegui. Thank you so much for spending time with me this evening. When I first started thinking about the possibility of sharing some of this knowledge and some of these insights with people in the business world, I was very excited because I have been through a lot of experiences myself, and I know a lot of people who are business owners. And there are certain things that I have witnessed over decades of being out there in the business world that a lot of businesses fail to account for. And this, it doesn't matter whether it's a one-man show or an older business with lots of employees. These things happen all the time. And I will hopefully share with you something that you'll be able to keep in mind, not just on your day-to-day, but long-term. So, the title of this presentation is Perfect Your Business Approach to Reach Success. And I want to be clear that there's no magic bullet. There's no such thing as just making some adjustments, tweaking it, and there's your success. There's no magic formula. What it is an ongoing adjustment or a series of adjustments that respond to things that happen. So as we go through this, keep in mind the type of business that you're in, keep in mind the kind of category that you belong to, the type of product or service that you are selling or promoting. And so what I'm going to try to do is, whether you're just an entrepreneur who's thinking about doing something, or whether it's you're someone who has been doing this for a long time, my goal is to give you the kind of information that you'll be able to use regardless of your level of experience. If you're more experienced in some of these things you may have seen before, it's okay. If this is a good checklist, and may also be a thought starter for you. If you are someone who's been in the business for a few years, maybe this is a way to add additional things to your process that you may have overlooked. And if you're someone who's thinking about starting something, this would be valuable as well, because now you know how to outline your plan. Running the business takes place at a different level. It's more, they call it higher level thinking, but in reality, I would prefer to call it complementary thinking. This is not about getting lost in all the details of the day-to-day, but instead understanding what the environment is doing to you and to those around you, and to understand how that will have an impact on the business. Everything else will follow from there. So, one of the things that we see time and time again is that because people are so busy working the business, that they are often distracted, and they are kept from doing something that is really necessary. This higher level thinking is something that needs to be part of your routine as much as your everyday actions are. So another reason that this is important to think about is because life in general is fluid, and we hear this all the time. The only constant is change. Well, it's true, but sometimes the change happens in ways that you don't really notice it. So only by looking back can you see how much things may have changed in a 5-year period, and you became part of that change without even knowing it. Now, there's other types of change out there that are less subtle, and those are the ones that we tend to focus on. But we have to be aware that change is a constant, and change in general makes people feel uncomfortable. We often choose to bury our heads a little bit and keep going as it is, because once we reach especially if we reach a level of comfort in our business, we want to stay there because it feels good. And changing anything, we're afraid that it may disrupt the flow of things, that it may hurt us somehow. So we tend to stick to what we know and what seems to work, which is fine, but that also has a lifespan. So some of those changes that make people uncomfortable are part of what's necessary in order for you to stay on top of what's changed around you. So what happens when you bury your head and you ignore some of the activity or the evolution of your environment is that things are not going to stop changing just because you don't like the change. Things will continue to change all around you. What's going to make a difference is how soon you are willing to acknowledge that you need to make adjustments. Some people wait too long and they're too far gone, and it's incredibly expensive and difficult to make changes, and they may find themselves in a crunch. Some people are a little more, I would say a little more disciplined perhaps, and they continue to look at their environment on a more regular basis, and they make adjustments as they go. which is really the better way to do it. You take a look at your success and you're trying to define how things are going as you go. You should ask yourself, what are the metrics that I need to use in order to define this success? What does it look like? So depending on the type of business that you're in, whether it's a service business or a product type business, you might be defining it by the number of customers that you acquire. So acquisition or incremental customer base, that's a metric. It could, again, be sales volume. It could be the number of employees. It could be that you've increased the number of product offerings, or you have more variety, more SKUs for retail, things of that nature. Or it could even be the footprint, which means that your area of your service area has expanded geographically. So those are all ways of looking at success and defining success. Now, there's also some pitfalls that I think we need to address. And the reason that you want to have these metrics in place is because oftentimes, and I think we all suffer from this from time to time, it's a little bit of wishful thinking. And wishful thinking is not enough. This whole idea that if you build it, they will come, it's a flawed approach, because even when you have an outstanding product and you seem to have everything going for yourself, there are a lot of other variables that, unless you're looking at them, could put you in a position where there's a lot more wishful thinking driving that customer volume than actual numbers or research behind it. Now, I have seen this. I've seen this with a lot of different businesses. I've seen it with people that I know personally, relatives and friends, where they had amazing products or amazing services, but the business didn't do so well. And part of it was because there were maybe 2 or 3 little variables that they failed to look at in terms of who their target audience was, how their perceptions and attitudes and behaviors had shifted over time, and how they really missed an opportunity to shift with the market. So that's part of the reason that this is important. Now, other things that you keep in mind is the end goal. We talked about the business goal, right? That's one number, that's a set of metrics. But the end goal is a little different. The end goal is the idea that you have a business that has a life cycle. It has a beginning and it has an end. A lot of business owners, small family businesses tend to do this a lot. They just kind of go day to day. There is no exit plan. The plan is to keep the business going as long as possible, which is a plan, but it doesn't really give you a timeline in which to do things. By establishing what the end goal is, it's a lot easier to be able to plan things in time blocks. So, for example, when you take a look at the lifespan of your business, are you also taking a look at the lifespan of the category? Because it's not just your business that you have to worry about. Is the category growing, expanding, shrinking? Is it dying? When does it end? Is there a projected end date? And what part of the life cycle are you riding right now? Now, you also want to know, how long do you intend to hold the business for? 5, 10, 15 years? Are you trying, as part of your end goals, to just maintain for that time frame? Are you trying to sell it over time, sell it in pieces, retire, or hand it over to somebody? Those are all things to think about. You may be passing it on to partners, you may be passing it on to family when you're done with it, or you may even decide that after 10 or 15 years, you just want to shut it down and liquidate everything and go on vacation, and that's the end of the business. Now, regardless of what the end game is, the reason that you have an end game is because you can work backwards, and now you have a timeline that's going to reflect whether your goals are even achievable within the time frame that you've outlined. So you're kind of working it backwards to make sure that the goals are also attainable, and that you're not pushing beyond what the market can produce and what your category can offer. So now, your territory and your audience, they're going to come hand in hand. How well do you know the territory and the audience? Do you understand what that radius is? You heard me mention that a minute ago. Your radius is your service area. where you're located. Depending on the kind of business that you run, you have an area that is the area you should worry about. Don't expect to have an impact on places that have nothing to do with you. You want to focus on owning your territory or doing as best as you can within the areas that you can impact. So if you have a small retail shop of some kind, and you know that 95% of your customers are coming from within a 2-mile radius, you can effectively say that is your radius, 2 miles, a 4-mile circle. And it's okay, because now you know what your territory is. Now you can analyze your territory. Now you can get to learn it, and you can see how it's changing, and at least you now know what to focus on. All right. So some of the things that this allows you to do is, after you become familiar with it, is it allows you to see if you have a certain degree of success in your business model, whether transferring that same business model to another location would be even doable. Is it scalable? Is it expandable? And is it about expanding your current geography, or is it finding similar traits somewhere else and creating a whole nother 2 or 3 mile service area for a subsidiary or secondary location? So things of that nature come out of your territory analysis. Okay. So, but aside from just understanding some of the kinds of information that is already out there, syndicated information like demographics, data, population, all this is census based, and a lot of this is available out there. You just go online and you should be able to get census tract data. But aside from that, a question that I would ask you at least once a year is, when was the last time that you had a conversation with members of your target audience in a structured way? And when I mean a conversation, I mean literally a conversation that is set up so that everyone that you speak with is hearing the same questions, and all the people that you're talking to have similar traits. So they all belong to a certain segment. So you basically recruit them and talk to them. And this is an opportunity for you to kind of dig deeper into what they're thinking and what they're feeling. So this is not something that happens all that often. And a lot of businesses don't think about this. This falls in the realm of qualitative research, which I will explain. But the trick to doing something like this is how you structure it, and how you structure it up front so that it's most beneficial to you. The reason that you want to talk to other people, and the reason you want to do it in a structured way and conduct this kind of research, is because there's something to be said about falling in love with your own product. It happens all the time. And I think that as business owners, if you're not passionate about what you do, you might be in the wrong business. But I think most business owners are in love with what they do, are in love with their product. So it's not uncommon, but that could also be a little dangerous, because when you fall in love with your own product too much, you have the passion component, which is good because it drives you and keeps you going. But sometimes you choose to not look at certain facts because it's not what you want to hear. It's kind of inconvenient, and you would rather just kind of will it to happen, because as a business owner, we can do anything. We're bulletproof. Watch this kind of a thing. So, which is true. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are. But it's best sometimes to talk to other people and see what they perceive. You don't want to run the risk of shaping the reality around you and kind of creating your own, defining your own reality, and then living by that reality. That's a risk when you're too involved or too in love with your own product.